Everybody, welcome to the show, Around the Nation, right here, TYT Nation. I'm your host, Jeff Waldorf. Got a great Wednesday show planned for you guys today. Hopefully, we don't die in the middle of it with Donald Trump and his ridiculous standoff with Kim Jong-un. Oh, man. Disaster. Anyway, so we got a good show for you guys today. I want to go through and I want to talk about, I want to talk about what I'm going to talk about. If that makes any sense. We have Paul Manafort. Very interesting new admission coming out about Paul Manafort and the investigation. We also have ridiculous news about Trump and how staffers got together to try to continue to make Trump happy. That's interesting. Then we have the little-known news, little reported news. Yesterday, not a lot of people had time to report it because we were dealing with, of course, North Korea. But I think it's an important story. It's what Trump's plan is to deal with the opioid crisis. That's very interesting. Then we have Nancy Pelosi laundering money. Wonderful. The same dirty tricks that establishment Democrats have done before, Hillary Clinton. And then we have Pat Robertson weighing in on Eric Bolling. So, very interesting. So we're going to have a fun show today. It'll be great. Make sure to send in your tweets, hashtag TYTNation. Also, use the super chat. If you want to leave me a comment and have me read it on air, more than happy to do that. I am a little, feeling a little sick today, but I'm here anyway because who knows? We might not have it tomorrow. I am, of course, joking, hopefully. Let me just cross my fingers on this one. All right. So here we go. All right. Before I get into the stories, I'm going to thank some patrons, patreon.com/TYTNation. We have, I'm going to thank Lori Smoker, Brian White, Mike Simpson, Gary Nutt, Richard Ogilvy, Megan Marshke, Gary Steelman, Rohan Mapiri, Robert Butler, Holly Shutta, Rusty Bretz, Ellen Gaynor, Kenyon Bunny, Squeaky T, Rebecca Babcock, Irving Gonzalez, Amanda DeLong, Joseph Terray, and Richard Braithwaite. So, and Martin Trammell. Thank you, Martin. Thank you, Rebecca. Thank you, Kenyon. Thank you, everybody who donated to, who continues to support TYT Nation by donating through our Patreon campaign. You are the reason that we have that we can have a show. So thank you so much. I appreciate it. All right. So let's get to Paul Manafort here. We'll start out with that. Okay. Let me get organized here. And all right. Today news broke of the hold on. Let me start that again. Today news broke that FBI agents have recently raided the Alexandria home of President Trump's former campaign chairman, Paul Manafort. Now, late last month, the FBI, using a search warrant, seized documents and other materials from the Manafort's home in an early morning raid. So that's always fun. And this is according to people familiar with the special counsel investigation that is, of course, being headed up by Robert Mueller. According to the Washington Post, federal agents had appeared at Manafort's home without any advanced warning in the pre-dawn hours of July 26th, the day after he met voluntarily with the staff for the Senate Intelligence Committee. So what's interesting here about this is that the search warrant that they received to search Manafort's home to seize these documents was actually very wide-ranging. According to a report in the New York Times, the search warrant included tax and foreign banking records. Well, that's very interesting. Paul Manafort, of course, has been known to do business with foreign governments, work on behalf of foreign governments, doing lobbying efforts. So those might actually turn out to be very, very useful. Now, it suggests, according to the New York Times, that investigators are looking at criminal charges related to the Federal Bank Secrecy Act, which requires Americans to report their foreign bank accounts. Now, look, Manafort had previously not reported working for some of these, on behalf of some of these governments too. So I guess it would make sense that he might also hide the fact that he might have foreign bank accounts that he did not disclose. It's very interesting, because if you're going to work on a presidential campaign, that's something you would want to know if you were getting money from foreign governments. So it seems, I guess it makes sense that they would look into that, into his banking records and taxes. Now, Jason Maloney, he was a spokesman for Manafort, confirmed that agents executed a warrant at one of the political consultants' homes and that Manafort was there and had cooperated with the search. Now, Manafort had been voluntarily producing documents to congressional committees investigating Russian interference or supposed Russian interference in the 2016 presidential election. The search warrant indicates investigators may have argued to a federal judge that they had reason to believe that Manafort could not be trusted to turn over all records in response to a grand jury subpoena. Now, the documents included materials Manafort had already provided to Congress, said people familiar with the search. Now, one advisor close to the White House said, hey, man, look, if the FBI wanted the documents, they could just ask him, and we would have turned them over. Well, but doing this raid suggests that they didn't trust Manafort to turn over all those documents, that he might have been hiding something, again, because he also failed to disclose other things that he was doing. Mueller was like, no, we're not fucking around with that shit. We're going to go right after his tax and bank accounts. We're going to see just what he's doing, okay? Now, Josh Stueve, hopefully I got that right, spokesman for Mueller, declined to comment, as did Reginald Brown, an attorney for Manafort. Maloney said, Mr. Manafort has consistently cooperated with law enforcement and other serious inquiries, and did so on this occasion as well. Well, look, hey man, if he did, wonderful. This is one way. Now, this raid, seizing these documents, this is one way to figure out if he was truly cooperating or if he was holding back. If they find something new, well, that's going to be very interesting. Now, this is also a big sign that Robert Mueller, he's not fucking around on this shit. According to the Post, Mueller has increased legal pressure on Manafort, consolidating under his authority a series of unrelated investigations into various aspects of Manafort's professional and personal life. So, man, he is putting the screws under this guy. Okay. Now, Manafort's allies, according to the Post, fear that Mueller hopes to build a case against Manafort unrelated to the 2016 campaign, in hopes that the former campaign operative would provide information against others in Trump's inner circle in exchange for lessening his own legal exposure. So, look, what this tells me is, of course, that they think that there's something there. They actually believe that. Okay, now, something worth building a case against Manafort for, in order to get information, like the end goal of getting information about Trump's inner circle and whether or not they had dealings with Russia. Now, that's got the potential for being huge because, again, Mueller, he's not just looking into the election, okay? We're past that. Now we're looking into financial corruption. And that is going to be very interesting. And again, that's the potential of being huge if there is something actually there, and that's what they're looking for. And we don't know what's in those records specifically. We don't know if there's anything incriminating in what they seized, or if there's anything new. It could turn out that Manafort had cooperated all along and turned over everything, and that there wasn't anything in there. We'll find that out one way or the other. Now, Manafort, of course, had already provided documents to both the Senate Judiciary Committee and the Senate and House Intelligence Committees. Now, these documents are said to include notes Manafort took while attending a meeting with Donald Trump Jr. and a Russian lawyer at Trump Tower back in June of 2016. Now, Manafort was invited to that meeting where they were supposed to get damaging information about Hillary Clinton. And look, I've said, and even Kellyanne Conway has said, hey, man, if you want to have something damaging on Hillary Clinton, all you have to do is just listen to her. I agree with that. But nonetheless, the idiots that they are, they're like, hey, this Russian lawyer says she's got some dirt on Hillary. You want it? And Donald Trump Jr. is like, yeah, of course. Heck yeah, I want it. It's kind of illegal to get information from a foreign source when you're a political campaign. That counts as a campaign contribution. That's a big no-no. But those idiots, they didn't know that. And they're like, yeah, if it is what I say it is, I absolutely want it. Dumbasses. Dumb. Okay. But anyway, as I said, we don't know what they found, but it seems like Mueller, again, believed that there was something there. It was enough to justify a morning raid on Manafort. Now, I told you, man, this is a serious investigation. Mueller, he's not messing around with this. If there is something there, it seems like he's going to be the one to find it, unless, of course, Donald Trump fires him. But that, of course, unlocks a whole host of other problems for Trump. Lindsey Graham, I mean, take it for what you will, but even Lindsey Graham's like, there will be holy hell if you fire Mueller. A lot of other Republicans are like, don't fire Mueller, don't do it. That looks really, really, really bad, especially if he's actually, or if it seems like he's onto something. Here we go. If that happens, a lot of Republicans, they're going to jump ship, and this administration is probably done. Their only hope is that Manafort had already turned everything over and didn't have anything additional as of consequence. And of course, we'll find that out eventually, as the truth always tends to win out in the end. Okay. So let's move on. Let's have a little bit of fun with Trump. Now, over and over again, Donald Trump has proven himself to be a thin-skinned snowflake. He is the most special of snowflakes. Whether it's tweeting about how no politician in history, and I say this with great surety, has been treated worse or more unfairly than me, or maintaining his, of course, constant victimhood against the press. Oh my God, the press, they're the enemies. They're always attacking me. It's so unfair. It's so unfair. Him, and this is despite him being the most powerful person in the United States. And of course, considering how he treated President Obama and Hillary Clinton, it just makes him look like even more of a pathetic snowflake. Now, a new report out from Vice underscores how completely sad this entire situation is when it comes to him in the White House. Now, according to Vice, the president, since the beginning of his administration, has asked to receive a special folder, twice a day, filled not with intelligence briefs or policy initiatives. These papers are described to Vice News as by three current and former White House officials, are filled with screenshots of positive cable news chyrons, the lower thirds, and admiring tweets, transcripts of fawning TV interviews, praise-filled news stories, and sometimes just pictures of Trump looking powerful. Already, that is incredibly sad. I mean, who does that, right? Has a literal folder hand-delivered to him twice a day, filled with 20 to 25 pages of admiring tweets and pictures of themselves. But it gets worse. It gets more sad. One White House official said the only feedback the White House communications shop, which prepares this folder, has ever gotten in all of these months is, quote, it needs to be more fucking positive. It needs to be more positive, guys. It's not positive enough. Child. Snowflake. Sad. Hey, you guys got to make sure this folder kisses my ass even more. Look, this is why they refer to it as the propaganda document. Literal propaganda document. That's awesome. That's what they're calling it. I'm not calling it that. That's what they're calling it. It's the propaganda document created for the sole purpose of making Donald Trump happy. Somebody actually gets paid for this, too. That's the worst part. It's literally somebody's job. They explain. According to the insiders, beginning at 6 a.m. every weekday, 3 staffers arrive at the RNC to begin monitoring the morning shows on CNN, MSNBC, and Fox as they scour the internet and newspapers. Every 30 minutes or so, the staffers send the White House Communications Office an email with Chiron screenshots, tweets, news stories, and interview transcripts. White House staffers then cull the information, send out clips to other officials, and push favorable headlines to a list of journalists. That should be the worst thing in this, is that, oh yeah, by the way, in the RNC and the White House, they're literally pushing favorable headlines to journalists. Oh. Now, anyway, but they also pick out the most positive bits to put in that folder and give to the president. And they said on days when there aren't enough positive chyrons, communication staffers will ask the RNC staffers for flattering photos of the president. When asked about this, one former RNC official said, quote, "Maybe it's good for the country that the president is in a good mood in the morning." And they do that by literally giving him a propaganda document. Hey, man, you got to make the man-child happy when he wakes up, or else he's going to be in such a bad mood. You don't want that. Nope, you don't want that at all. And you know what's even more sad? Not the fact that he has a propaganda folder given to him twice a day so that his feelings aren't hurt, so that he's nice and happy. It's the people giving it to him. See, this had 2 former staffers, right, fighting over who gets to hand-deliver the folder. And it was the people that came up with it, Sean Spicer and Reince Priebus, who are, by the way, gone. But still, they would fight over who would bring them the document. Because they know that the president is a man-child and will equate good news with the person who brings it to them. Oh, hey, Sean gave me this folder, and it made me super happy. So Sean's a great guy. You know what? Sean Spicer, he's a tremendous guy. Fantastic. And, of course, we know if somebody gives him bad news, he's very likely to kill the messenger. Not literally, of course. The guy has a history of yelling at staffers, yelling at aides, and even yelling at the fucking TV if he sees something that he doesn't like. Something that makes him sad. What a snowflake. Now, here's another note. Contacted by Vice News, Spicer disputed the nature of the folder. He said, "While I won't comment on materials we share with the president, this is not accurate on several levels," he said in an email. Asked what about the story was inaccurate, Spicer did not respond. Hey man, he's not saying it doesn't exist. Just that the report is not accurate. Well, you had former and current RNC staffers saying, no, it's a literal propaganda document that we give to the president to make him happy. Spicer saying, yeah, it exists, but I mean, something's wrong about it. I'm not going to tell you what's wrong about it because you know what? It's actually accurate. And we were actually fighting over it. And over who's going to deliver it to him. So fucking sad. And look, this fits into everything we know about Trump. He's a thin-skinned man-child who can't take criticism and cares only about his image. That's why, of course, people have to give him this document or this folder filled with documents that have nice, flattering pictures of him. Ooh, look at that. You brought me the folder. Ooh, I looked so presidential that day. Yes, you did, Donald. You sure did. Boy, did you rock it. So sad. Now, look, imagine if any other president did this. Now, I'm not saying that, presidents don't pay attention to their media, right? Of course they do. They want to know how they're being engaged in the media. But this is different. Imagine if President Obama had a propaganda folder brought to him twice a day. Imagine the Fox News headlines, by the way. Now, what's funny is that they asked David Axelrod. No, he was the senior advisor to Barack Obama during his first 2 years. And he said, if we had prepared such a digest for Obama, he would have roared with laughter. Because it's so fucking ridiculous. He adds, his was a reality-based presidency. As opposed to what we have now, which is nothing more than an alternative reality-based presidency. Sad. I don't know what's more sad, man. Fighting over the document or getting that document. You guys be the judge. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back. Make sure to tweet hashtag TYTNation or leave a super chat, and I'll read that after the break. Be right back. All right, welcome back to the show, Around the Nation, right here at TYT Nation. I want to get to a question that was asked yesterday by Dread CP. He asks, who has, in your opinion, a greater danger of starting a war, Pence or Trump, and why? Trump, because he's an idiot and he has no idea what he's doing. He has no flair for diplomacy. And he's going to get in. Look, we already see he's getting into a pissing match with with a dictator from North Korea. He's so stupid, he doesn't even know it. Now, I know Mike Pence is not a good person either, but he's actually smarter than that. If they want a war, I mean, first, let's talk about how we set up a war, right? We set up a war with the media beating the drum, okay? Now, we've been doing that when it comes to Syria. We've been doing that when it comes to Iran. Haven't really been doing that when it comes to North Korea. So, and it's usually we get something out of it when we go to war. Our corporations get something out of it other than just military spending. So what we would get out of North Korea, well, they don't really have that many natural resources. And plus, it puts too many of our allies in danger of being hit by nuclear weapons. It includes South Korea, it includes Japan, and includes Guam. So, and it also wouldn't be good for our relations with the Chinese. So that's why I think a lot of the military minds in America, even the ones who are the war hawks, are like, no, North Korea is a terrible idea. Terrible. We know, what are we going to get out of it? Not a lot. So that's why I don't think that Pence would be interested in a war in North Korea. I could be wrong, but that's my sense of the whole issue. But anyway, there's that. Let's go on, and we'll talk about the drug war. Now, the opioid crisis is a very serious problem. That's impacting a lot of Midwestern white people. Now, these are people who are formerly middle class, working in manufacturing or related industries, who saw a lot of that disappear within the last decade or more. Or they're also people that have worked all their lives and developed, whether it be back problems or any sort of chronic pain issues, and were prescribed powerful narcotic pain relievers like OxyContin. Now, the thing about OxyContin and those and similar drugs is they happen to be very addictive. They get hooked on it, and then that leads to heroin abuse. Now, these are the people that President Trump had promised to help. So yesterday, in a story that was buried, and understandably so, by the spat between Trump and Kim Jong-un and the possibility of nuclear war, during all that, Trump made a special announcement on what he plans to do in order to fight the opioid epidemic. Now, if you're thinking that he's going to do something positive here, that he's going to expand treatment, you would unfortunately be wrong. And that's a bummer because, look, I was hoping that Trump might actually do the right thing and start decriminalizing drugs and putting more money towards treatment centers, but he's not doing any of that. Politico explains. They reported on Tuesday that Trump vowed that his administration would beat the opioid epidemic by, number one, beefing up law enforcement and strengthening security on the southern border to prevent illegal drugs from entering the country. Trump joined in Bedminster, New Jersey by Health and Human Services Secretary Tom Price, as well as other administration officials, emphasized a tough law and order approach rather than new treatment or social programs as the White House's primary strategy for halting an epidemic that kills 142 Americans every day, according to federal statistics. He apparently said, "Strong law enforcement is absolutely vital to having a drug-free society. I'm confident that by working with our healthcare and law enforcement experts, we will fight this deadly epidemic, and the United States will win." It's funny how he talked about experts, but we'll get to that in a minute. So basically, what he's proposing is doing the same thing that we've been doing before for decades with no success. Oh, but don't worry, guys. It'll work if we just do it just a little bit longer. Look, I don't know who in the audience or if there's anybody in the audience that thought that Trump might act differently on drugs. I know there's some libertarians out there that are like, no, man. No, he's gonna legalize weed, man. It'll be great. What now? That didn't happen. That's fairly obvious. Now, Washington, D.C. politicians, we know that they're locked into this drug war mentality, despite its complete failure to actually stop the problem of drugs. There are different factors to that, of course. They think that giving cops more money and that giving more money to private prisons, that's going to help out. And, of course, all that private prison corporation money flowing into them, into their re-election campaigns, well, that doesn't hurt either. So, now let's be honest. As I said, they give a lot of money to Trump. Corrections Corporation America and Geo Group gave a lot of money to Donald Trump's election campaign and also to his inauguration party. And this is the kind of stuff that they got in return. See, the strategy is, well, to put it in a certain phrase, it's yummy in their tummy. They love this. They're like, yes, crack down on drug users even more so that we can get those people to fill our prison beds. And then we get the profit. That's what happens. Now add this to Jeff Sessions and his now Injustice Department strategy. It gets even worse. Anybody who thought that Trump was going to disempower the establishment and change drug policy, well, you guys were wrong. What we get is another standard pro-drug war politician. Now, he's rolled back even some of the modest reforms from Eric Holder's Justice Department. He's brought back civil asset forfeiture and made a deal with the private prison companies, of course, in order to fill their beds, which, again, in turn equals more profit and more campaign contributions to these pro-drug warrior politicians. That's Trump's plan. He never cared about treatment, never cared about decriminalization, and it's all over. Now, Politico writes that the Trump administration has consistently taken a law and order approach, despite concerns from experts who say treatment should be the top priority. I mentioned experts earlier. Well, this is what the experts are saying. And this is his own commission, by the way. The administration, okay, well, I'll get to that in a minute, actually. But first, I want to talk about what his administration is actually doing. The administration is had also backed the GOP's Obamacare repeal and replace proposal that the CBO estimated would slash Medicaid, the largest payer of behavioral health services, by $800 billion. Advocates have stressed that such a proposal would almost certainly result in less access to treatment for people with addiction. Again, more proof he doesn't care. Medicaid actually does help people who are addicted be able to get off their addiction and to get back to living actual life. But again, since it helps real people, they're not interested. They're only interested in helping people who give Trump money, or people who give these Republican politicians money to be tough on crime. But see, the people who are addicted to this, they don't need prison, they need treatment. And Medicaid actually helped them be able to get treatment. They were able to get insurance through the Affordable Care Act's Medicaid expansion. About 1.2 million Americans who have need of addiction services were able to get it through the ACA thanks to Medicaid. It also paid for 35 to 50% of all medication-assisted treatment administered to help fight opioid addiction. And this is according to the National Council for Behavioral Health. But hey, let's get rid of that so we can give tax breaks for the rich. Let's not help people with addiction, and let's instead lock them up and build a fucking wall. Well, how's building a wall going to help stop the drugs, to stop people from getting hooked on legal drugs? A wall is, what are you going to do? Build a wall in the pharmacy? Like, no, you can't get those legal prescription narcotics, the Oxycontin, because we built a wall. No, that's ridiculous. I understand they want to keep the illegal heroin from coming in, but heroin is a symptom. Okay, they're really getting addicted from these doctors writing these prescriptions for these powerful narcotics that more often than not, to be honest, a joint would probably fix. They've done studies where preliminary studies where people will smoke, marijuana for pain, and it actually is more effective than some of these powerful narcotics. Oh, but the pharmaceutical companies don't make money from that, or they can't make money from that. So let's forget about that. No. Look, building a wall, it's not going to do anything. It's not going to fucking help. You want to hurt the cartels? You want to stop drugs from coming across the border? Legalize them. I know that seems counterintuitive, but think about it this way. Cartels thrive on the black market. Now, we've already seen what happens when you legalize drugs. Take marijuana, for example. Colorado and Washington. When they legalized marijuana, that actually cost the cartels millions of dollars. They ended up switching to harder drugs because they weren't making as much money on smuggling in marijuana. It was no longer worth it, okay? And in case you think that, no, but if you legalize drugs, it's going to make more people be on drugs, right? Actually, no. There's another study that looked at Portugal. Portugal, years ago, decriminalized all drugs and found lower rates of drug addiction among their population than when they had it criminal. So now what they did is that after these addiction rates fell and they decriminalized, well, they took all the money that they were spending on drug enforcement and incarceration, and what they did is they put it into treatment centers. So if somebody got addicted, they could go into a treatment center and they could get treatment for it. And the result is that they have a lower addiction rate and are actually saving money, and they're also saving lives. But that's not the president's goals. It's not the goal of Jeff Sessions, who's going against his own commission. Again, I talked about the experts, right? And this comes from the White House's own commission on combating drug addiction and the opioid crisis. Now, last week, they released a report that recommended that they make an emergency declaration. Now, what would that do? That would actually allow the federal government to move more quickly to free up federal funds to expand access to substance abuse treatments, specifically medication-assisted treatment, the very thing that they're actually looking to cut. They're doing the opposite of what their own commission says that they should do. Now, that is not surprising. If anybody remembers the Schaefer Commission, for Richard Nixon, they said, oh, yeah, by the way, marijuana, not what you make it out to be. Nixon says, no, fuck that. I'm going to use it as a racist tool to get rid of my political enemies, the liberals, the Mexicans, and the blacks. So, yeah, war on drugs. Let's do it. So, look, Republican presidents kind of have a history of going against their own commissions. So it's not surprising to see Trump and Sessions going against their own. They're looking to cut treatment programs in favor of doubling down on a failed drug war and to try to build Trump's stupid fucking wall, proving that once again, this administration is not interested in real solutions to a problem that is certainly real and is having a real death toll in the places that voted for him. So, there's that. So let's go after the Democrats. Here we go again. Now, recently, some Democrats have been talking openly about replacing Nancy Pelosi. Now, it's because of the fact that Pelosi has presided over some of the worst defeats the Democratic Party has ever suffered in recent memory. She, of course, defends her position by saying, "No. I'm great. I do awesome. I'm like an all-star. And look, as far as replacing me, well, I don't think the Democrats really want to move in a new direction." Well, that's interesting. Now, that's interesting considering the Democratic Party right now is extremely unpopular, especially among millennials and independents. And how programs like Medicare for All happen to be extremely popular among not only those same groups, but to Democrats as well. Those policies, of course, are not so popular with the donors. And since she serves the donors, Pelosi, she has come out against these policies. So, yeah, as far as Democrats not wanting to go into a new direction, you're actually wrong. Democrats do want a new direction, one that actually involves winning. And that direction happens to be away from establishment politics. Establishment politics, of course, represented by Nancy Pelosi. Now, Bernie Sanders, for example, has an 80% popularity rating among the Democratic Party. So Pelosi is actually in the minority. Now, despite that, she says that she is the Michael Jordan of politics. That is preposterous for some of the reasons that I already talked about. Now, on July 30th, she told Fox News that she is, quote, a master legislator. Really? Master legislature. Really? You had a supermajority and you couldn't pass progressive health care. Why didn't you? Well, it's because your donors didn't want it. No Medicare for all, no public option, just right-wing heritage care. That's what you passed. It's because your donors wanted to. And you didn't get any Republican votes. And what have you done afterwards? Master legislator. Nothing. In fact, under the Democrats, under her leadership, and the Democrats in the House, they lost seats. And you know what? That allowed the Republicans to come in and gerrymander the fuck out of the districts in order to make sure that the Democrats would have an incredibly hard time being able to win back the House. So, way to go. Master legislator. If you were a master legislator, you would actually put up populist progressive policies on the House floor and actually make Republicans go on the record voting against Medicare for all. I'd do it. And look, that policy, it polls at 60%. Now, what does she think about populist policy? What does she think about Medicare for all? Well, during a CNN town hall in February 2017, she told a millennial who supported Bernie Sanders, quote, we're capitalists. That's just the way it is. And that's in response to a question of why Democrats do not embrace populist policies. Also, she said, you know what, the country, we're just not ready for single payer. We're not there yet as a country. And if that involves any sort of government-run healthcare, well, I'm just not in favor of that. She didn't care about winning. All she cares about is pleasing the donors. Now, let's look at the real reason Nancy Pelosi is in her position. According to fundraising data, she's raised $25.9 million so far in 2017. Now, she did it, of course, by hosting over 100 lavish fundraisers across the country. And not only that, but she's used her super PAC, the Nancy Pelosi Victory Fund, in order to raise money for both herself and the DCCC. Now, that fund, interestingly enough, is very similar to the Hillary Victory Fund. Now, I talked about the Hillary Victory Fund, and there were a few problems with it. Now, what this Victory Fund is that it's a joint fundraising committee with the DNC, which Politico reported was used to essentially launder money for the Clinton campaign. So far this year, about $1.2 million has passed through the Nancy Pelosi Victory Fund. Another committee, Nancy Pelosi for Congress, has received over $1.2 million in campaign contributions in 2017. Her leadership PAC, called PAC to the Future, get it? Clever. That has received over $300,000 so far this year, including $2,500 from Blue Cross Blue Shield Super PAC. Is it any wonder why she was against Medicare for All? The Washington Post also recently reported that Pelosi racked up multi-million-dollar fundraising hauls at a trio of speakers cabinet VIP events this year in San Francisco, New York, and LA. So, look, that's a lot of money. She might be the Michael Jordan of fundraising. So, okay, let's look at some of her donors. Okay. Some of the top donors listed donations of $16,200 each via employees from the investment bank Moelis & Company, a private venture capital firm, Ambax Venture Partners, Regis Management Investment Advising Firm, Klein Financial, Francisco Partners Private Equity Firm, and DFJ Venture Capital. So it's a lot of bankers in there. Max contributors to Nancy Pelosi's Victory Fund include DNC Treasurer William Darrow, lobbyist Michael Berman, oil tycoon Erich Gordon and Ann Getty, former Bill Clinton advisor Tom Werner, billionaire George Marcus, and former White House press secretary under Obama, and now Amazon senior VP James Carney. Gee, is there any wonder why she's so resistant to Sanders' agenda and progressive policies? I can't quite tell. All this says is that she's pretty good at raising money from wealthy donors. Now, I understand that this is our system. You need money to run elections. I get it. You want to go and make that point, but you need money to win. I get it. But that's the problem here. Personally, I don't have anything against Pelosi, but I don't think that she represents the base. I don't believe she represents Democrats. I think she represents the corporations. And the problem is, and the reason why, is that it's the system. It's systemic. This system incentivizes and allows people like Pelosi to maintain power because they are so close to the spigot of money. She's not really popular with the people, okay? She's not even popular with a lot of Democrats. There's at least 20 Democrats openly talking about removing her as speaker and replacing her. Now, you also have Democratic challengers vying for her seat. You've got Stephen Jaffe, who is actually going to primary her from the left. And you know why? It's not because we hate her as a person, right? It's because Democrats are tired of losing elections because there are neoliberal corporate shills like Pelosi being in the leadership and dictating what kind of policy gets passed or introduced into the House. Democrats, as well as a majority of the American people and even a lot of Republicans, they're tired of corporatism. and they want real policies. They want policies that will help the American people. And a lot of progressives, like myself, want Medicare for all, free college, a living wage. And if you as a Democrat are not willing to back those policies and instead raise millions and millions of dollars from the banks and health insurance companies, then we need you to kindly step the fuck out of the way. It's time to get rid of the corporate Democrats. It's time to primary them all. Get them the hell out of Congress. If you don't represent us like Nancy Pelosi, then you gotta go. So you gotta go, Pelosi. You gotta go. It's time. Nothing personal, but we want someone to actually represent us. All right. I'm going to take one more break here. We'll be back with the last story. Make sure to tweet us hashtag TYTNation if you want to talk to the show. Also, don't forget the super chat if you want me to read a comment on air. All right. We'll be right back. All right, back and around the nation here. Jeff Waldorf with you. Got one more story for you guys, and it's going to be fun. We're going to have a little bit of a light segment here, including Pat Robertson. I haven't talked about Pat Robertson in a long time. Man, those were the days, ages and ages ago, making fun of Pat Robertson. But anyway, so we'll go on with that. Let's start that now, actually. Now, Pat Robertson just is not buying the allegations of sexual harassment levied against Fox host Eric Bolling. Now, Bolling, of course, is accused to have sent images of his genitals to multiple female coworkers. So, what a classy guy. Now, Bolling, because of those allegations, has been suspended from Fox News, just like Bill O'Reilly had been before he was fired, and Roger Ailes before he was fired. So, you see the pattern here. See, first, and this has happened plenty of times, at Fox News, first you get some allegations that are corroborated by a lot of people. In Bolling's case, at least 8 people have either seen the images or have heard about the images that were supposedly sent from the people who had received them. So you have a lot of witnesses, you have a lot of corroboration, right? And it was also the case in the Bill O'Reilly case as well as Roger Ailes. Now, the people that have accusing them, of course, a lot of them happen to be anonymous, since I either work at Fox News or had worked at Fox News, or they're afraid of retaliation or whatnot. Now, what happens when, after these allegations, usually Fox News is like, well, shit, we got to look into this. These people can't be on air. They either go on vacation or are suspended or whatever. Now, Pat Robertson, well, he sees this pattern too. And he actually has an interesting defense of Eric Bolling. Now, he said he was on this program. He's a dedicated Catholic. He goes to Mass every day. Very nice man. They pulled him off air because someone sent pictures ostensibly over his name. That's very interesting. Now, basically it's, well, he's a good Catholic. There's no way he could have done something like this. He's a good man. He'd never do anything wrong. Really? You're going to use the fact that he's religious or is a good Catholic as a defense? You know what the Catholics have been up to? At least the Catholic Church? The sex scandals, the pedophilia, which I'm not accusing him of course. But it's something that the Catholic priests have been getting in a lot of trouble over lately. So, but of course, if you're a religious person, you can never do anything wrong. So obviously, totally untrue, right? Well, if you asked Pat Robertson, yes. But those of us in the real world, we realize that that is absolutely preposterous. Human beings are human beings, and it doesn't matter where you go, you're going to find shitty people in every group. Okay? Shitty people, there are shitty Christians, and there are good Christians. There are shitty atheists, and there are good atheists. There are shitty Muslims, and also some good ones. A lot of good ones. So people are people. It doesn't matter what religion you are. Some people are just going to be shit. It's got to be in a t-shirt or something like that. You're going to have, bad people obviously doing bad things. So his argument breaks down. Now, Pat is, of course, this is in context here. His statement about Bolling being a good Catholic, it's actually in context of a bigger argument of why Bolling couldn't possibly be guilty of doing this. And I want to show you the whole clip in context. Let's take a look.
I want to say something I've been reading about in the press, and I don't have a lot of first-hand information, so I may be, off the wall on it. But think of this. If you wanted to destroy the Fox News, you really wanted to destroy them, what would you do? Well, you would send some salacious material, ostensibly from one of their popular co-hosts or hosts, and you'd send it out and then get it publicized. And then you'd have some woman complain that she had gotten this salacious material from this particular co-host. And then you'd come to Fox, and Fox is so averse to any kind of legal action that they would immediately take the person off the air. So before long, you would have decimated the primetime lineup of all the Fox hosts. Easy to do? Absolutely. Is it being done? Probably. And the latest attack is against a guy named Eric Bolling, who I think is a straight hour. He was on this program. He's a dedicated Catholic, goes to Mass every day. Very nice man. They've pulled him off the air because somebody sent some pictures ostensibly over his name. But what they've done is take away one of the most popular hosts in their lineup. And then they got rid of O'Reilly, who was the top getter of audience, the most popular host they had. Got rid of him. And, of course, they got rid of Roger Ailes, who was the architect of putting it all together. So easy to do now. I mean, anybody can make charges. But, ladies and gentlemen, if this is going on, and it could easily do it, I mean, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but it is so easy to see what's being done.
Okay, so there's a lot to unpack there, but I just want to say, first off, I love it how he refers to it as the Fox News. If you want to get rid of the Fox News, this is what you do. It's so easy to do. Is it? Is it that easy? These women, remember, they recognize the phone number as Bolling's because of previous interactions they had from work and non-work functions. Oh, this is Eric Bolling's number. Hell, Bolling sent me a text. I wonder if this is about a job. Oh my God, it's his balls. I wish I never saw that. That's probably how the situation went, allegedly. Now, first off, or I should say second, you realize that a lot of us, we're not in favor of Fox News, right? But are we like, let's destroy Fox News from the inside? We got this plan. We're going to take down the host one by one by making them send pictures of their junk. You know what we want Fox News to do? We don't want to destroy Fox News. At least not in a literal sense. We want them to actually tell the truth. Now, and that doesn't even mean not being a conservative network. See, conservatives have this weird idea that we want everyone to be conformed to be liberal. No, that's not what we're looking for. We just want to actually have disagreements over facts. I mean, not what is an actual fact, but like, let me give you an example here. A conservative can believe in climate change, okay? Like that it's a real thing. Because it is a real thing and is backed up by actual evidence. Now, you can agree that, yeah, climate change is a real issue and we need to do something about it. But you can disagree on how you get there. And progressives like me, we take a more government approach, obviously a larger approach, replacing fossil fuels with solar energy and stuff like that. Now, conservatives might take a more market-based approach, which would make sense. From their position, oh, well, we can regulate fossil fuels. We can make fossil fuels a bit cleaner as we transition over to cleaner energy, which will also create jobs. But in the meantime, to not disturb the markets, we could do something like a cap and trade, which is a conservative idea. And that's a good debate that both sides can have. And we can have a conversation that can be perfectly reasonable. And you can even have those debates on conservative networks, where you can have one side arguing for one and the other side arguing for the other. That's perfectly fine. And you could do that from a conservative perspective. And you could do that with any issue as long as you're dealing with facts and reality. And that's what we would like to see from conservative channels, conservative networks. And that's perfectly fine because that sets up a discourse. That sets up a discussion, right? That's what liberals want to do. We want to have conversations based in policy on real work. People like Pat Robertson and a lot of conservatives, wouldn't say a lot, I guess, but some conservative commentators are like, no, shut it down. Shut down anything that is dissenting with our opinion. We don't have the facts, so what we have to do is we have to destroy the people who have the facts. So with that in mind, they must project that to, well, liberals want to destroy us too. They want to shut us down. It's projection. So he goes into a whole conspiracy about somebody maybe stealing Bowling's phone or whatever in order to impersonate him and send in salacious material in order to frame Bowling so that liberals can go back and say, gotcha, got another one. So we can make Rachel Maddow the queen of the demo. Nobody cares about Rachel Maddow. I don't care about Rachel Maddow. What I care about is actual facts. Okay, actual truth. Now, look, it's pretty possible that Bowling didn't do anything wrong, but I think it's more likely that he just likes sending pictures of his junk and sexually harassing his female coworkers. Now, why would I say that? Well, it's because at the time that he did it, it was from last year, everybody got away with it. They all got away with it. Ailes got away with it for a very, very long time, chasing women around his office with his junk hanging out. O'Reilly with his falafel. I mean, the constant sexual harassment suits, settlement after settlement after settlement with O'Reilly, millions and millions of dollars. Okay? Like, it's not hard to see that there is a culture at Fox News that spread this. And, why didn't the women just come out if they were very uncomfortable? Well, because they had the ability to destroy your career. To make sure that, if you say something, then we'll never have you on again. You can no longer be a contributor to Fox News. If you say anything, you're going to lose your job. That's why a lot of women do not come out about this. It's like, well, it's another job hazard. If I want a job, then I'm going to have to deal with, at some point, being sexually harassed and being brought up to their office and told, in the case of Bowling, allegedly, at least, that, hey man, this come see my office. Turns out the office is one of my favorite places to have sex, if you know what I mean. I think a lot of women now consider that par for the course, or at least have for a very long time. And only now are they speaking out because they've been empowered to be able to speak out because of what happened with O'Reilly. The media landscape and the business landscape is changing. And that's a good thing. The guys can no longer get away with this anymore, at least in some places. So that's actually good. But as far as bowling was concerned, at least back then, he was like, hey, man, why not do it? Why not sexually harass? Everybody else gets away with it. And that's that culture that I'm talking about. The simplest answers are usually happen to be the most correct. So in this case, look, I got news for you, Pat. It's not the liberals that are taking down Fox News by doing these scandals. It's Fox News. Okay. Anyway, that's all I've got for you guys today. Thank you for going around the nation with me today. Thank you for, or make sure to subscribe and like this channel and like the stream. Patrons can get the full show whenever they want. Patreon.com/TYTNation. If you want to help out, you can support us by going through Patreon. So check that out if you're interested. Like us on all the different social media. And again, make sure to use the hashtag TYTNation and on social media. All right. Love you guys. Thank you. Hopefully we'll see you tomorrow. And remember, change begins with you. Good night, TYT Nation. We'll see you tomorrow.